Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by Hockey Think Tank U, an online hockey community for all hockey players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. With Hockey Think Tank U, you get an exclusive Hockey Think Tank resource or video every single day, whether it's Mindset Monday to help you be at your best, Tactics Tuesday to help you better understand the X's and O's of the game, Parent Thursday to get unbiased guidance to help you navigate the youth hockey journey for your child. There is something in Hockey Think Tank U for everyone. And if you love the podcast, we've taken the best clips from our 7+ years, and it's all in one place here in Hockey Think Tank U. And it's actually categorized into buckets for players, coaches, parents, and youth hockey leadership. So think about the best clips from the best guests that we've had all in one place. And I actually, Vex, I had somebody reach out to me that was like, dude, I'm taking all of these clips and using them with the kids on my team. Like a lot of the Mindset Monday stuff, they're like actually showing it to their kids. Parents also showing it to their kids. Coaches sharing these clips with other coaches that are on their staffs and stuff like that. So like, honestly, it's like a one-stop shop for all the best Hockey Think Tank information, especially from the 7+ years and all the great guests that we've had on the podcast. And also, one of the things that is my best part of the week is every week on Friday, I make myself available for a Zoom for anybody that's in the community. Friday afternoons, boom, Zoom, I hop on. I've had parents that need guidance. I've had coaches that want to talk hockey, all that kind of stuff. It's like literally the best part of my week. So that's also part of Hockey Think Tank U, the chance every week to hop on and we can collaborate, man. I absolutely love it. So join the over 250 plus people already in Hockey Think Tank U that are sharing their knowledge and perspective with each other and gaining even more from some of my friends at the higher levels of the game who are sharing their expertise in it. And for the thousands that you're probably paying in this crazy youth hockey system, the price to join is only half a hockey stick. It's under $200 for the entire year. But we live our mission here at the Hockey Think Tank, and we want this to be accessible to everybody. So if that $187 for the year is not something that you can afford, shoot me a message and we will give it to you for free. No questions asked. I've had people that have messaged me on this. We mean this when we say this. We want to live our mission. You can't afford it. It's free. If you want to support what we do, then you can pay for it. Yeah, it's a big thing for us. So we'll put a link to join at the bottom of the show notes here to make it easy for you to find, or you can go to thehockeythinktank.com and find it there too. So that is Hockey Think Tank U. Now let's bring on the talent of the podcast, the one Jeffrey Jehu Lavecchio, and we will talk about our guest here today because this guest, guys, this was an unbelievable conversation. If you don't know John O'Sullivan, get to know him on this podcast. If you like the Hockey Think Tank, think of John O'Sullivan as the Hockey Think Tank for all youth sports. He has a company called Changing the Game Project who does a lot of what we do on coach education, systems change, parent education, but he does it for the youth sports world at large. And he has a podcast called The Way of Champions. That's really, really good too. And he just wrote a book. It's called Captain, The Athlete's Guide to Being an Exceptional Team Leader. Man, we can't talk about player leadership enough. This was such a great conversation with John. But before we do get to John, let's bring on the talent. Like I said, of the podcast, the one Jeffrey Jehu Lavecchio. Vex, what's shaking bacon today?
Not much, dog. How you doing, buddy?
Dude, buzzing.
And drinking water, I see. Love to see it. Got the handle going on with that bottle and everything.
This is 64 ounces. So I try to drink 2 of these a day.
Okay, bro. Let's go. Get on that train.
Oh, yeah, buddy. Losing weight at the gym every morning. Let's go.
Let's go. What are you doing in the gym?
What's that?
What are you doing in the gym?
A lot of different things. I'm doing some of your workouts on Train Heroic. Heyo. I'm doing swimming, actually. I've been doing some swimming of some laps, which has gotten the cardio, the lungs, and especially the upper body going. Yeah. And doing some yoga, doing a little yoga too. So it's kind of different every day, but trying to get a mixture of all those things in there. And
dude, love
it's working.
Love it. I listened to something today, a doctor talking about the decrease in your risk for Alzheimer's when you train legs, because like legs are the biggest muscle in your body.
Leg day.
It pumps blood up to your brain. That's a big reason they think is like you get so much blood pumping because of, the biggest muscles in your body. So don't skip the leg day out there, peeps. Keep the brain healthy.
Skip leg day. 100%. Buddy, how fun was this conversation with John O'Sullivan?
Dude, every time we've had him on the podcast, he's just awesome. Like awesome guy. It was cool, in the pre-show talking to him just about how he wrote the book and things like that. And just a really good dude.
Man, the world needs more leaders. The world needs more leaders. And when we talk to people at the highest levels of our game, leadership matters, man. It matters if you're a kid that wants to be recruited, if you are a leader on your team and you're wearing a letter because you've earned it, like that matters. Like, dude, and this book, I read the book, man. Like it's so good. It's so good. Like it's a must read. Like this is one of those books I'm getting this right now from some coaches out there, like asking me, hey, if we were going to do like a summer reading thing with our team, what's a good book to do? I would say 2 books now. The one book that I've always talked about is Hard Hat, about George Boiardi, who is a Cornell lacrosse player. It's by John Gordon, who we've had on the podcast to talk about that book years ago. Unbelievable book. But this book is now on my list. This book, Captain an Athlete's Guide to Being an Exceptional Team Leader. Like it's so practical. It's so relevant. There's so many great stories in there. Like I hate books that are like just how-to books, like you need to do X, Y, and Z. Like they thread in him and his partner, Jerry Lynch. Like they thread in so many stories of elite athletes and coaches and stuff like that. And this was a very fun conversation, a very enlightening conversation that like every kid should read.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like you said, the world needs more leaders. The world needs more leaders. It starts with the youngsters, and just I loved the stories he had about the All Blacks, on the podcast we were talking about. Like just, yeah, I wish, and I built a library at my headquarters gym here. And, the big thing I'm battling is trying to get the kids to read books. I get it. I was their age once too, but I'm like the smartest, the best, the most successful, the richest people in the world. They're all leaders. Find books like this one, like his book, that are going to move the needle for you. Like young players listening. I know reading is not sexy. I know reading is not cool. You're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Like you get there quicker. Like please, books like this, books like, any leadership book that Topher and I have talked about, like they're going to help you so much, right? 10 pages a day. Just read 10 pages a day.
How about this? Let's have a very practical conversation with the kids right now. Okay. I know that you're scrolling social media way more than this, but just for sake of math stuff that Vex and I are not good at, let's just keep it simple. Okay. Let's say you scroll on social media for an hour a day, which studies will show is not even close to what kids are doing nowadays. Okay. Let's say 2 hours. Let's just say it 2 hours. Okay. Keep the hour. Even though you should not scroll social media for an hour. Let's just baby steps here. Okay. Keep an hour of that 2 hours. Of the hour time that you have left, for half an hour, go shoot pucks. Right? You'll probably shoot 150 to 200 pucks in that half an hour. And then for the other half an hour, instead of picking up a phone, pick up a book and read 10 to 15 pages. I promise you, like if you have goals, so we had Larissa Mills like on a podcast years ago, who's like the expert on like phone use and all this kind of stuff. I actually just spoke to her the other day. Like if you want to be an elite hockey player, like this is no joke here, guys. Like I'm 100% serious when I say that. If you want to be an elite hockey player, one of the ways that you can separate yourselves is by putting your phone down. No stop. 150 million%. If you want to create a competitive advantage with the other kids that you're fighting for spots for, the best thing that you can do is not actually be in the gym or have a sports psychologist. It's put your phone down. have a phone routine, So take your 2 hours, make that 1 hour, which is still too much, but make that 1 hour, and then shoot pucks for 30 minutes of that and read for the other 30. I promise you, when you get to training camp, because you're going to be doing all the other strength stuff and, hopefully nutrition and all that other stuff that we always talk about, but like, you want to actually move the needle, put your phone down. Agreed?
It's like it's so simple, guys. Like, it's so simple. It's not easy. I know it's not easy, but it's simple. Put your damn phone down and get your nose in a book. Toph just gave me chills. Like, when I literally tell this to my guys all the time. I'm like, when I look back and I'm like honest with myself, like, what are some easy things that I really, really, truly know and believe could have moved the needle? Reading more books is one of them. No doubt. It's probably my top one when I look back at my career. Literally, that's not sexy. That's not shoot more pucks. That's not watch more video. That's not get stronger or faster. Read more books literally could have helped my career so much. I'm telling you, young players, pick up a book like this one.
Actually, what's funny about that is I actually wrote, so for those of you that don't know, I actually have a weekly newsletter that I send out. There's like thousands of people that are on it, and really appreciate everybody that is subscribed to that. But the interesting part was I heard this on a podcast, and oh my gosh, I got to get into my phone and look at what the actual saying was. Okay, ready? Most people are addicted to education, but allergic to execution. People are addicted to education, but allergic to execution. So I will say that, yes, putting your nose in a book can be really good. But if you're like me and you're a little bit of a, let's call it a perfectionist, whatever it may be, like, there's times where I procrastinate because I'm doing so much like research and work to make sure that the thing is perfect, when all I really needed to do was just start, do, and go and do, So when you were saying that, like, in my head, because the newsletter goes out on Wednesdays and we're recording on a Wednesday, like, it literally went out that I wrote it last night. It just, like, it can also be a blessing and a curse. You're getting better, but if it takes away from you taking action on the thing that you need to get better at, then you're just going to be stuck just as much as you were stuck by not putting the effort into getting better.
100%. I think that's more of something for people that are older than young people. I think It's like the inverse, Yes. Young people are doers and not,
thinkers.
Overthinking book and thinkers, and they're stinkers. And then on the flip side of that, older people, they fight or flight or freeze. I think they freeze a lot, and then
overthinkers.
One thing I can look back at my life and say for sure, the only way I've had any success is by not being afraid to do when I wasn't ready, and then learn on the fly and get better and learn, adapt, apply. So I totally agree with you on that too. But young people, get your nose in a book.
There we go. Okay, we're going to put a clip. We've been doing this every week here. It's going to be a short clip of one of the clips that was in Hockey Think Tank U this week. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. So this clip is from Tyler Palmasino. So one of the most downloaded episodes that we've ever done on the Hockey Think Tank is interviewing Tyler and his, other leader of his club, Judd Stouse, and they run East Grand Forks, Minnesota youth program. And Tyler is the coach of the high school team. And their podcast was so well received. We did that maybe a year ago, Vex, something like that. We still get people that reach out to me that are like, hey, can you put me in touch with Tyler and Judd? And the way that they run their youth program there in East Grand Forks, if you haven't listened to that episode, like, go, it is phenomenal. So we took a clip from that. Like we said, we take the best clips from our best guests, and we have this in Hockey Think Tank U. And this is Tyler talking about work to rest ratio and station-based hockey.
One of the things with our practice, we try to stick, and Judd's referred to it, I think, is a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio, where if you go for 20 seconds, you're only resting one rep and you're going back again. Judd does a fantastic job of having groups. So if we're in a 5-station practice, he already has the 5 groups, right, set up before practice. If somebody doesn't show up, we'll adjust. If we're short, we'll figure it out. And those groups change just about weekly. So it's not you're not always with the same 5 or 6 kids, but it is based on ability, right? And so you have like players always against like players, which really benefits everybody. Nobody's going through a drill or a playing a game when they never get to touch the puck. And nobody's doing the same thing where they can always have the puck and it's easy. It really flows fantastically.
So that was Tyler, and guys, like I'm telling you, that episode with him and Judd, like the most feedback from a positive standpoint of maybe any other episode that we've done. And I just love this clip so much. And every Saturday we put out a hockey development clip. And this is all about like how to structure your practice at the youngest of ages. It's all about reps, right? Work to rest ratio 1-to-1. If they're going for 20, they're resting for 20. If they're going for 30, they're resting for 30. And it's just reps and fun in a station-based practice. And another thing that they do at East Grand Forks is everybody's all on the ice. You know, like I really, really, really don't understand how many people feel like you have to have a full ice practice at the young ages. It doesn't make any sense. Like it literally doesn't make any sense. And like, this was just a great episode on why, from a cost standpoint, from a development standpoint, from a work to rest ratio standpoint, from getting reps from coaches and coaching and feedback standpoint. Like it's unbelievable. So, unbelievable. I know I've said that quite a few times here. Sorry. But these are the kinds of things that you get in Hockey Think Tank. You and Judd and Tyler do it, you know, some of the best. So go to httU.thehockeythinktank.com. Check that out, or it is on our website or at the bottom of the show notes. And Vex, let's get over to John. But first, let's have you go train heroic first. What do you got, buddy?
Train heroic, guys. You know, I just signed up a couple of big academies out on the East Coast for next season, training with me in season. Train heroic is a reason I'm able to do this and do it at such a cost-effective way, and work with tens of thousands of players the last 6 years. So if your team or organization is looking to add to what they're offering their clients, their customers, their players, reach out to me. I can be a resource. I can tell you how it works. At-home workouts for young players in a gym, whatever it is, I can help your players get better. And I've done it with a whole lot of players. So massive thank you to Train Heroic.
And we want to thank our title sponsor, icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for all of your coaching education needs. They got thousands of drills. They got whiteboard explanations from high level coaches. They have a partnership with the NHL Coaching Association. And so they have a ton of NHL coaches drawing up drills and systems and structures and stuff like that. Also the ability to go in and digitally draw up your drills, create a library for yourself, your team, or we have partnered with them to do an associations platform where you can get this for every single coach in your association. But Ice Hockey Systems is not just for coaches anymore. They are also for families. And they have what is now called family accounts with great information for parents on parent education and how you can best support your child through the journey. And also for kids, great motivational stuff, great how-to stuff. They have some amazing people doing player development, talking straight to the kids so they can get better in their skills and their knowledge of the game as well. So go to icehockeysystems.com today and check that out. Also, we want to thank Helios Hockey. Helios Hockey, one of the best hockey development products on the market today. This is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pad that gives you real-time data and feedback on your play, particularly with two things. Number one, which the kids absolutely love, and that is a hustle score. So every time you move, that thing moves. It can give you your speed. It can give you how hard you're working out there. The kids absolutely love that. A little bit of added incentive to get your butt moving out there on the ice, but also a lot of skating development tools through this app. And if you want to be a great skater, skating is a big part of the game of hockey today. Great feedback tools for skating and can help you to be faster out there on the ice. But the kicker for Helios Hockey is it syncs up with your video. So whether you are on LiveBarn or any type of camera or phone, it syncs up with that. And you can get your shifts of your game or your reps for your practice cut up for you directly after that session. No longer, like Vex and I, do you have to use that rewind or fast forward button. It's just right there for you. Just an unbelievable development tool for that. So go to helioshockey.com today. And if you use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, you will get a 20% discount on your Pro Annual or your Pro 24-month subscription. And guys, last but not least, I want to thank you. We absolutely love you, the listeners. Thank you so much. 7.5+ years of doing this. We continue to do it because we feel like it's making an impact. And the only reason why we know that is because you guys are telling us that through a whole host of different things, whether you are getting to us through messages on social media, whether you're emailing us, or you're interacting with our podcast on your podcast app and shooting us ratings or reviews, you're downloading it, you're following us. All that stuff goes a long way to spreading the message. And we really, really, really want to create a more positive hockey world. We want to bring the positivity every day. And if you think that we are doing that and you think it'd be good for us to be in some more people's ears, the more you interact with us and give us feedback so we can have better talking points. And just from a big picture standpoint, also that algorithm thing that everybody talks about, the more feedback that you give on your podcast app, the more it's going to be shown on other people's phones. So if you can do that for us, that would be phenomenal. The reason why our podcast is where it is, over 2 million downloads in the years that we've been doing it, is because of the great guests that we're able to bring on here. And John O'Sullivan is one of the best that we've had. He is a repeat guest, and he's coming out with a new book, Captain, The Athlete's Guide to Being an Exceptional Team Leader. Unbelievable conversation about that book and many other things. So without further ado, here we go with John O'Sullivan. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast. He's back, and we're so excited to talk to him today. He's got a new book out, John O'Sullivan. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Today is a great day. I had a little medical mishap about 4 months ago, and I rode my mountain bike for the first time today, and it felt great, and I didn't crash. So that was a good day so far. And then coming on with you guys makes it even better.
Here we go. Well, you're out in Oregon, so I got to imagine there's some pretty good mountain bike trails out by you.
There's some really good mountain bike. I live in Bend, which is kind of one of the epicenters of mountain biking. So yeah, it's a pretty fun place, and it's been hard. We didn't have a lot of snow this winter, so the biking's been really good since about March, and I haven't been able to go. So today was a good day.
There we go. I like it. I've actually had a pretty good day too. I've had like 3 other conversations today, just talking about hockey and culture and all that kind of stuff, and leading right into this one. So I'm like already jacked and ready to go. So yeah, here we go. Okay. So your book, Captain, The Athlete's Guide to Being an Exceptional Leader. I am so pumped to talk to you about this today. And I wanted to kind of start it with just some of my experience in this space, and just kind of, I don't know if this is a little bit of your why of why you wrote it, but you know, I have a lot of relationships at the higher levels of hockey, and it's always really funny because if you ask coaches at any level, but especially the highest levels, like how important on a scale of 1 to 10 is player leadership in your locker room for you to be a championship team, every single one of them will say 15, not 10, 15, because it's that you can't win a championship without having exceptional leadership from a player standpoint. But then the next question that I'll ask is, okay, what's your leadership development program? And they'll look at you like you have 5 heads. It's like, wait, what? You know? And they try, not that they don't try or anything, but it's not something that's top of mind. You know, usually you'll have a leadership group and you have meetings with them and all that kind of stuff, but it's not something that people put a whole heck of a lot of time into developing leaders. It's almost like you either have them or you don't. And I always thought that was really interesting. Like, if that is one of the most important things for you guys to win a championship, why don't you spend a ton of time in developing leaders, you know, at the end of the day? And so I'm wondering if that ties into it all. I'd love to know your why of why you wrote this book, and if there's any symmetry between kind of my experience in that with kind of yours too.
Yeah, no, your experience is dead on to mine, that coaches at the next level, collegiate, professional, or whatever, talk about this, and or what they all say is, well, where are all the leaders gone? I don't know where they are anymore. And because a lot of these athletes have grown up in a very coach-centric environment where the coach makes all the decisions and handles all the discipline and does everything. And then, you know, coaches at the collegiate level, high school level, college level are like, wait, I need someone to lead here. And if we took your story and if we took out leadership and said fitness, and you said, what's your fitness plan? They would have a fitness plan. in conjunction with the strength and conditioning coach, in conjunction with the athletic trainers, to make sure everyone was performing at their highest level. Well, then if leadership is such an important part of it, then you need an intentional plan. And it's a great thing for like an assistant coach to be in charge of, not just the head coach. It's great for a head coach in a high school. It's great for a strength and conditioning coach or someone who sees all the athletes in the high school to just train the captains all year long. So, when everyone kept saying, where have all leaders gone? Jerry and I were like, well, maybe it's time to write a book for that, to make it easier for people to intentionally develop leaders in their program.
Very, very cool. I love that. And that makes so much sense. Like, yeah, we have programs for fitness. We have programs for how we're going to develop them on the ice or on the field. You know, there's even kind of like, you know, mental skills programs and things like that. But from a leadership standpoint, from a life skills standpoint, you don't see a ton of that. But, you know, I wonder, I've been saying this a lot, John. I would love to get your take on it, but like everybody, I kind of like tell people, like, if you want to have an elite athlete, you got to stop focusing so much on just the athlete part, like the actual development of skill in that specific sport. Like, you need life skills to make it to that level. You have to understand resiliency. You know, you have to understand accountability. You have to understand passion, like all of these life skills that not only will make you a better person, but a better player too. Are you seeing that too? Like, I feel like so much of the conversation of developing elite athletes is about just that specific sport and making them better at that sport. The life skill thing, Joe, those are non-negotiables too.
Well, yeah. And I think, you know, New Zealand All Blacks have a saying, better people make better All Blacks.
Yeah.
Right. If you develop people, you're going to have a better hockey team, soccer team, football team, whatever your sport. Right. And so, and then if we take this down to the youth level, when we know that an exceptionally large percentage of these kids are not going on, certainly they're not going to make a living in this sport, but they're not even going to play in college or play professionally or even play in high school. Well, what are we leaving them with, right? What are they graduating from our program with? But if leadership development is a part of it, then man, we need to, you know, why wouldn't we do this? And, you know, I sort of one of the thoughts about this book, I made notes in my phone for it about 2 years ago. And I was just talking to a college assistant coach of a program I work with, who also runs a very, very big soccer club. And he said, you know, all the coaches that are recruiting our kids say they need more leaders. So we're going to build a leadership program in our club. Like, we're charging people all this money. Why wouldn't we develop our captains and make them better? And I was like, yeah, what are you using to do that? He's like, you know, I'm kind of making it up on the fly. You know, Jeff Jansen is a really good captain's book. And we were talking before about the captain class, but that's a great book, but a little bit unapproachable maybe for, you know, a 15, 16-year-old. And so, you know, all this stuff tends to percolate in my mind for a while as I sit on long airplane flights and think about, well, what would I write about and how would that go? And then Jerry came to me and said, hey, I think I want to write a book for captains. And because he was working this spring, he was working with Navy women's lacrosse, and they had an extraordinary captain that he just loved. And he's like, we really need to do a book. Like, it would be nice to just hand him something on this. And I was like, funny you should say that. Here's all my notes. Let's do it. So that's kind of how this one came about. But like you said, we're in the human development business, and we just develop humans through hockey or soccer or football or basketball. So this is a big part of human development, and these are life skills, not just sports skills.
Well, Topher and I were so massive on the game of hockey, has given us so much. And a lot of it we use in our daily life after hockey when we're not doing anything with hockey. And so many people say, oh, yeah, hockey's great for developing. But like, how many have this type of thing? How many are putting an emphasis on this? And like you said, not to discourage anyone, but like most players aren't going to play Division I hockey, and even less are going to be able to play professional hockey. That doesn't mean you don't try for it. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Like people are going to make it to that level, but like youth sports should be so much more than just hockey, like Toph said. And if we can start implementing actual strategies for developing leaders, not just like, oh, that coach does a great job, then 10 next coaches don't do anything. That coach does a pretty good job. If we can have something that we can like drop in, plug and play, like get them to really focus on it, I think it just makes so much sense for hockey, making them better players, but also better people and ready to take on the world whenever they're done with the sport.
Yeah. And I think also my job as a coach is not just transactional to teach hockey, or it's not just transactional to hand them a book. Like, let me go through this book with you, right? And that's why this book, we did a curriculum with it. And, in the back of the book, there's a QR code and you scan it and you put in your email and email you the code, the curriculum. And it's just a really, like, we walk you through it. It's 10 sessions, 45 minutes, and it goes deeper. So each session has like, read these 2 chapters, discuss these stories and stuff in these chapters, and then there's sort of like 2 or 3 more discussion questions for the coach. So you don't even have to think about it. You just print out this curriculum and meet with your captains once a week or over the summer here or whatever it is, however long you want this to last, and just work your way through the book. And at the end of that, they'll be better leaders. You'll be a better coach, I think. And so we try to like remove all the barriers of like, oh, I don't have time to teach this. And I think we do better than like, here's a book, read it and be a better captain. Like that's not really doing your job either.
Yeah, totally. So let's get into the book here. And I have kind of one question for you. And then I love the way that you guys laid out the book into 3 sections. You have one section that's like, what are the qualities of leaders and captains? And then you have like, what are their typical responsibilities within the team? And then lastly, kind of just putting them through real life challenges. Like what do leaders actually have to go through as it relates to that? But one of the things that Vex and I talk about a lot, and I'd love to get your take on this and all the research that you have, and it's in the book too, but like, we're really big believers that there's not one exact right way to lead, and everybody has their superpower. And I think a lot about that when I think about the best leaders that I've been around, whether it was a player and there was a captain that I played with, or whether it was a coach and like there wasn't a mold, like there were certain similarities and characteristics which you go through in the book, but also you have to be yourself. And there's got to be an authenticity to your leadership. And so was wondering just in writing this book and researching all the captains that you've been fortunate enough to research, how much validity is there to that? And what would you, if you're speaking to a group of captains, a group of kids that are trying to find their voice and learn how to be a leader, how much of that is just, you got to be yourself first and foremost? First and foremost, but you have to be yourself.
The first chapter of the book is self-awareness, right? Yep. So who am I? How do I lead most effectively? And I think there's this myth that the captain is the big vocal rah, rah, rah in the locker room speech, but leadership is about influence, and influence comes far more from quiet personal interactions, a quiet word here, a hand on the shoulder, a chin up when someone makes a mistake, hey, let's stay after and do something. And so, yeah, there's lots of ways to lead. And I think first and foremost, if you're like, well, I'm just not that vocal, you know how you lead? You lead by example. You lead by modeling the behavior. And we've talked over the last couple of months about, on our Way of Champions podcast to like some great leaders, Champ Bailey, NFL Hall of Famer, Shane Battier, who wrote an endorsement for this book after we told him about the idea and sent it to him. And the reason being that, the reason being that if I model the behavior, even if I'm new, even if I'm young, even if I don't have the body of work that people are going to listen to me, they have to respect what I do. And one thing that didn't make the book, sadly, but it's a great story for this podcast. Is just a couple weeks ago we had Ryan Warsofsky on the podcast, San Jose Sharks head coach, right? 31 when he gets the job, 32. And so we're talking about Macklin Celebrini, who right now is 19 years old, captaining Team Canada at the World Championships. He's not captaining Canada because of his talent or his body of work. Sidney Crosby's on the team, right? He's captaining because he just does everything right all the time. So Warsaw told us about, he's like, he's 18. He's a rookie. You know who was the fittest person in preseason? Mac was. Says, who plays every single practice like it's the last practice he's ever going to get to do? Mac. You know who competes in every game like it's the last game he'll ever play? Mac. So it doesn't matter that you're 18 or 19. Even if I'm a 35-year-old veteran, I got to respect that, right? And I think too many people think like, well, I don't have any influence here because I'm young or I'm new. No, you do, but it starts with what you do and how you are, your way of being, and then your words matter, right? So you can't say, well, no one listens to me. They'll listen to your actions. And I just think that's the starting place for every kid and every parent listening to this who has a kid playing is like, lead by example. That's no one can question you when you lead by example.
What you do speaks so much louder than what you say. I love that saying. So let's dive into some of the book here. And again, love the way that you guys broke it out. And when you think about qualities of a captain, one of the ones that really stuck out to me and from my personal experience, especially, is like, typically captains, the best ones are the most competitive people on the team. Like compete was one of those foundational qualities that you wrote on the book. And compete is something that we talk about all the time in hockey development. Like you gotta have that compete level, but I'm interested from a leadership standpoint for all of our listeners. How do those two relate? How is being very competitive an essential quality of some of the best leaders that you've been fortunate enough to be around and research?
Yeah. I mean, this goes back to the example that you set and what you model, right? And I can't, when we go back to your point of like leadership is authenticity, I can't lead and tell everyone to work harder if I don't work hard, right? I can't say we need to be better if I don't give my best effort. And so this idea of competing is really important. And I remember I saw this video a couple of years ago. I think it was a basketball coach who was talking about the difference between hard work and competing. And they said, you can show up to practice and do hard work. We're going to set out a session for you. You can go to the weight room and we're going to set out a session for you. And if you do this was hard. But competing means I win every one-on-one. Competing means we do a fitness drill and we're skating blue line drill. Like I'm trying to win every time. That's competing. So you're guaranteed if you participate in this practice to work hard, but it's a choice to compete. And I think that's a really, really important topic for young athletes to understand.
Amazingly important. And honestly, when I see kids realize that right there, even if it hasn't been worded to them in the same framing, when you see that light bulb go off, you see their career go like this. Yeah. Wow. Love that. That's going up on the walls in my gym right there. Love that.
And that's like that. We talk about it too a lot. Like, is competitiveness something that's nature or nurture, right? Like, are you born with competitiveness, that elite compete level, or is that something that can be developed? And I think in every nature nurture conversation, it's kind of both, but like, I really do feel even at the youngest of ages, when you put a score on stuff, and I'm not talking about like in games and standings, at 8, 9 years old, which is just ridiculous. But like, in practices, race, like if you're doing a skating drill, make it a race or tag, like put something on the line for a little small area game, like making it's fun and it can breed that. Are you like, what do you think as far as that's concerned, John, as far as like being able to develop competitiveness in kids when at the youngest of ages?
I certainly think that there is a big part of nature to that, right?
Yep.
That some people just innately compete. Usually they're the younger child. They fought for every scrap of food their whole life, right? They've tried to keep up with big brother or big sister. And if they want to be part of the game, they've really got to work hard because they're a little smaller than everyone and whatever. So it tends to come out in younger kids. And I think there's a little research behind that. We didn't really write about that in the book, but what I think, there's a huge environmental part to it as well. As a coach, that I create an environment where you've agreed by being here that you're going to compete, right? And so I hold the standard high, and then hopefully my team leaders hold this high standard that when you show up here, we're going to compete. And if you don't want to compete, that's fine. This maybe isn't just not the place for you, right? And so these are things where, as a coach, from the technical way that I set up practice, how can I make this competitive, right? Because you never get game speed if there's no defenders, right? You never get game speed if there's not a goal to go to or something like that. But as soon as you add a goal, as soon as you add defenders, as soon as you add, a competition, the level goes from here to here. And so as a coach, that's the part of the environment I can control. And then the more people that I have competing, the more uncomfortable it is for an athlete not to compete.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like that's then I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it. Do I really want to be the only one who's going through the motions today? And most people say no.
Jeffrey, you love that one.
I do love that one. And it makes me think about, I was talking to a new guy who worked out in my gym last year, training me, a junior player who's committed to D1, and he was asking to bring his buddy in. And I was like, well, is he a hard worker? And he goes, doesn't matter. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, you come in here, you can't not work hard. He's like, everybody else, like you can't not do it. You have to. And I was like, he wasn't trying to compliment me. He was just like talking to me. And in my head, I was like, that was the best compliment anyone has ever given me. And it wasn't even a compliment. It's so true though. It's so true.
Amazing. That's amazing.
That's cool.
Right?
I mean, it goes into what Toph always talks about. You are the 5 people, the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself most with. So if you're on a team and that's the culture of the team and everybody is that way, you're either going to buy in or you're going to be not on the team anymore. You're not going to want to be there.
So I had someone tell me once, I have to think of it like the back of an airline ticket. And there's all those terms and conditions on the back, right? And when you buy the ticket, you signed up for that. Well, guess what? When you come to my gym, when you sign up and you come to this program and you decide to be a player here, those are the terms and conditions that you signed up for. And guess what? Like, it's not for everybody. That's okay. Right. But I think we just have to remind our athletes more often that, hey, this is what you signed up for and it's supposed to be hard and everybody's good. Right. You're a Division I athlete. You're playing in this conference. You're competing for a national championship. You're a high school varsity athlete. You're a junior player, whatever it is. Everyone wants what you want, and it's going to be really, really hard. And you signed up for it. And if it's not for you, that's okay. You could still be a great person and do great things in life. You're just not going to be a Division I hockey player, or you're not going to be an NHL player, or you're not going to be a high school varsity player. And that's okay. Not everyone has to be. But I think when it comes to this environment of competing, and I love the story of, it doesn't matter. You have to compete hard in your gym. Like, that's the kind of thing that gives me goosebumps. Like, that's the best paycheck, right? Like, we've created an environment where mediocrity is not acceptable. And that's how we're going to get the most out of people.
Yeah. True. And that's where, like, I feel like for all the kids that are listening right now, you got to like welcome that struggle, that hard. Like, if you have a coach that pushes you and you don't like all the time, that's a good thing. Like, that's a really, really good thing. If you have teammates that are not afraid to hold you accountable to the standards, even if it's a friend, like that's a good thing. And so I feel like and that's part of, actually, I had my notes later to talk about, but let's just bring it up right now. Like, I think the hardest part in the work that I do with teams as it relates to like leadership development, it's how do you hold people accountable, right? Like I had a group one year, like we're a group of friends. We're not a group of like brothers. This was a D1 team. And why is that? Well, it's because there's not accountability to the standards. And one of the, when you talk about the real life challenges, one of the biggest ones is face-to-face conflict. How do you have face-to-face conflict with people? And I think that that's probably one of the hardest things for kids coming up today to have a skill in, is like conflict resolution, especially if it's with a teammate or a friend. But like the best leaders are not afraid to have hard conversations and initiate those kinds of things. And there's different ways to have those conversations based upon how you want to do it authentically. But like, what would you say to players out there if they want to develop leadership abilities, and how important that conflict resolution is to being a good leader, and what that does to the team standards too?
Yeah, well, as you talked about, the third section of the book was challenges, and this was where we did a lot of research. And the research, it's not scientific, but we reached out to a lot of coaches that we knew, collegiate coaches, pro coaches, high school coaches, high-end club coaches, whatever it was. And then a lot of them said, if you have some captains you think of, reach out to them and ask them, what their biggest challenges are. And a lot of these things were very similar, but the top ones are exactly what you just talked about. Holding my friends accountable, having difficult conversations in person, right? And so because our kids grow up in this era where so much is on a device, right? I remember, I always tell people, I drove a van of 16-year-old girls to a tournament in California once from Oregon. And on the van ride, the 12-hour van ride, I had a girl on the team start dating and break up with someone on the van ride, right? They never spoke, right? So it was all this. And so you'd be amazed, or maybe you wouldn't be amazed, how many college coaches say, I have an issue. And I told my captains, I'm like, did you address this? They said, yeah, I texted him. No, that's not how we address that issue. You have to have a conversation. And now we can give you the skills to have that conversation from a place of love and respect. And I'm giving you this feedback because I care about you, because you're an important teammate, because we need you this season, right? Versus like, hey, you're just being a jerk and you're not working hard and we're sick of it, right? Like, let them know why it matters that their behavior is not meeting the standard. And if they're your friend, what's behind that? And so we did this whole part of the book because this is an opportunity for coaches to go through these challenges before they happen. Right. And go through them all, and let's get some reps. I mean, if we want to get better at shooting, we get reps. Well, if we want to get better at having difficult conversations, get a few reps in. So then when it really matters, it's not the first time you've had to do something like this.
Totally. And that stuff moves the needle. I feel like those little conversations, like as you were talking, John, I distinctly remember like two different times where that's had an effect on me. One was I was a freshman at Cornell and I was having just a terrible practice. And it was because I had like school stuff and like social stuff. Like my mind just wasn't there. And I remember my captain came up to me and was like, hey dude, like all good? And I was kind of like, I don't know. And he's like, all right, let's go grab some dinner after this, And so him and I went to dinner, and that was his way of quote unquote holding me accountable, just to make sure that I was okay. And then we had this great conversation. He shared some stuff about some personal struggles that he had that were similar to mine. It was just, I'll never forget that. And then on the other side of it, it's just funny how you never know the kind of impact that you're having. But I recently just kind of became friends with a guy I played junior hockey with. We played junior hockey together, then kind of lost touch. He's in Chicago now. We're talking, and this is a conversation that I really didn't remember having until he kind of brought it up to me. But he was a younger guy on the team. I was the captain of my junior team at the time. And I took him and I brought him back in the locker room. and had a one-on-one conversation. And I think I told him, based on what he told me, like, hey buddy, like we need more from you right now. Like your attitude's not great, but like, what can I do to help and whatever. And like, this is a story 20 years later that he remembered, you know? Yeah. And so these little interactions, I like vague, like I wouldn't have until he said it. And then when he said it, I kind of remembered it. But it just like those interactions. And sometimes when you get held accountable by teammates, I think everybody's first natural reaction is to get defensive. Nobody likes to be held accountable, especially from peers. But then when you sit back and you're like, man, I really wish, or I'm really happy that happened and very thankful, you know? And so like those interactions, they mean something, you know? I'm sitting here talking about on a podcast of one that happened with me 20 years later. Another, like, it's really cool.
You know, it's funny. I'll actually be in Chicago this weekend for the US-Germany soccer game with my college roommate, who's the co-captain of a Division I college soccer team with me. And we would be dropping F-bombs at each other on the field, and the game would end and we'd walk off together and people would be like, you guys are okay? I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. We're just sorting it out there on the field, but we're all good, you know? And it's just so funny. It was like, it's nothing personal. We both just want to do well. And so, you know, this is it. And now the final whistle's done. And so it's over and we're going to go get dinner. And I think that's the kind of stuff that, you know, but you like your story, the intentionality of your words and your actions, because oftentimes the most impactful moments in our life from coach, you know, from an athlete, from a coach or from a teammate is stuff that coach or that team captain doesn't remember. There was something that you did in the course of your day, and that was a life-changing event for them. And so you got to be really intentional, and if you're and then maybe have the skills to do it successfully as well.
Yeah, and you actually have to care about people. You know, like you have to have a genuine interest and care in that other person's well-being, and actually that dovetails a little bit into like one of the sayings. In fact, you're gonna freaking love this one, dude. But one of the sayings in the book that it gave me kind of goosebumps was, "Be a thermostat, not a thermometer."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
be a thermostat, not a thermometer. And I feel like the best leaders, they have like an EQ, right? Like an EQ to understand when somebody needs a little bit of maybe of a kick in the ass. Somebody needs a shoulder to cry on, you know, whatever that accountability potentially looks like. And so can you dive a little bit more into that? Be a thermostat, not a thermometer, because I feel like just in this world, we are so reactive and not proactive about things. That's not what captains do. So I'd love to hear your take on that more.
Yeah. And that was a chapter that I originally wrote in our book, The Champion Teammate, that I repurposed for this one because I actually really like that chapter, and it's one that resonates with a lot of people and a lot of teams. And so the idea being, right, a thermometer takes the temperature and a thermostat raises and lowers it, right? And great leaders can't just be the temperature of the room. When the team's down, you got to up the energy, you got to up the focus. When the team's too high, you can't be too high as well. You got to bring it down yourself. And that's what great leaders do. And we tell the story in there of, you know, a guy from Barcelona, Carlos Puyol, right? And he played on these great Barcelona soccer teams with Messi and Xavi and Iniesta. He wasn't the best player, but he was the captain. And there's all these incredible videos of him. You know, you Google him online and you'll see, I mean, you know, soccer's famous for, you know, someone getting, you know, tapped in the cheek and they dive and they look like they're, you know, need a medevac immediately. And there's all these videos of him like walking over, come on, get up, out of here, you know, and just like cooling the team down when it needed to be cooled, or lifting it up, you know, or they're over celebrating a goal and you break it up and like, let's go back to business. And so I think this idea that my job is not just to be the same as everyone else, but to realize what's needed is an incredibly important leadership quality. Again, far beyond sports.
Is that something that could be taught?
Why wouldn't it be? I mean, in this day and age where every kid from age 10 and up has a video of them playing every single game, right? Like, how did you react to that bad call? Right? Did that help your team in that moment to throw your hands in the air, or bad body language, or you made a mistake and they scored? What's your body language in that moment? What are you saying to people? Or, coach takes you out and, you're slumped on the bench with a bad attitude. So yeah, I think we can help them recognize and then ask them, like, is that who you want to be? You want to be the player that whenever there's a bad penalty call against you, you're useless for the rest of the period. Is that who you want to be? Is that going to get you to your dreams in hockey? Probably not. So, what do the best people do? They get over it and they move on, right? Because
I also look at that. I look at that statement too. I love that. I actually just heard that for the first time, like maybe a month or two ago. One of my coaches over at First Form said that to me. And my first thought was, the thermometer is somebody commenting on a situation. Everybody's got a comment. Usually they're negative. The thermostat is, I see it. There needs to be a change. I'm going to take individual responsibility to change a thermostat right now.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you're saying. Oh, there's a bad penalty. Are you the kid on the bench who's like, oh my God, Johnny's taking a penalty again? Or are you like, come on, boys, let's go kill this penalty off for Johnny? Right? Two different reactions. One's a thermometer, one's a thermostat. You're making a positive impact to take whatever yourself, the team, whatever it is, where it needs to go right now, immediately, instead of just calling out what's happening.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think these are all examples of just different ways to influence my team, different ways to influence the people around me. And that's a huge one. And again, it doesn't mean that you're perfect in the moment, but just like we're going to, we have to get our narrative to the truth. And so what's your narrative around every time there's all the officials suck? Well, that's not going to help you win next time. Right. So what's the narrative of, we have to be better at playing when the officials are bad, right? That's a thermostat narrative.
Very cool. Very, very cool. One of the other challenges that I personally struggle with, and I think a lot of high achievers, Vex, I'm sure you did too, when you get named a captain or you're part of a leadership group, and that's kind of like the difference of like balancing what the team needs versus you playing to the best of your ability, right? Mm-hmm. Like as captains, and I've erred on this where like I've thought almost too much about the team, and in reality, me just being at my best would have been enough. And then, caring about other people too. So like, how would you talk to captains about really trying to balance like what the team needs versus the team needs you to be just at your best? So you need to focus on yourself and how you can make yourself better too.
I mean, again, this is one of the biggest challenges, right? How do I lead when I'm not playing well? How do I lead when maybe I'm on the bench? How do I lead when I'm injured? These are all places, and it's like, if I can't lead everywhere, I don't lead anywhere. So I can't only lead when things are going well for me. And this is a big step. And this is why it's very hard to give. This is why I'm so impressed by like Macklin Celebrini and like someone so young to take on that responsibility at that age, when you're still really focused on your own game and getting better. It must be just such an incredible human being to be able to do that at 19 years old. So I think all these things are just, it's so important for our captains to understand that sometimes it's selflessness, right? I have to give. And one of the ways that I can be a better leader is that I make the people around me better, right? And if I make the people around me better, in a sport like hockey, you know what? Maybe Topher's not playing well, but every time he's on the ice, we do something good, right? That's a leader. right? People play better because of the way he treats them. They want to be on a line with him. They want to be around him because of the way he speaks to them, or he lifts them up when they make a mistake or things like that. And I think these are all just little things. The subtitle of the book, The Athlete's Guide to Being an Exceptional Team Leader, is intentional. It's not becoming a leader, it's being. So I make a choice every moment. What do I do when there's a bad call? What do I do when I make a mistake? What do I do when my teammate makes a mistake? I have a choice in that moment of how to be. And if I make more good choices, now I'm going to have influence. If I have influence, I'm going to be a leader. Whether I have an armband or a C on my jersey, I'm going to be a leader. And you can give someone the C and they can lose the room in a week, right? And you cannot give someone the C and they can be the most influential person on the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Going along with that, John, one of the sayings that I heard, and we've actually had her on the podcast. God, it was probably 5-6 years ago now, but she's the director, the athletic director at Johns Hopkins now. Her name is Jen Baker, and she's Navy, like just unbelievable person. She tried to do a leadership development program at Cornell when we were working there, and she's just phenomenal. And one of the things that she talked about was you're not just a leader for the 2 hours that you're at the rink, like you're a leader 24/7. You're not just a teammate when you're just at the rink for the 2 hours, you're a teammate 24/7. That always really stuck with me because it really puts into perspective that like something that you do away from the rink can very much affect team dynamics for the positive and the negative. And so what, and you wrote about that, be a leader everywhere is one of the responsibilities in the responsibilities section. Can you just talk a little bit about that and how important it is? Just, hey, like it's not just the hour or two that we're together on the field or the rink. It's leaders all encompassing.
Yeah. And there's a good and a bad to that, right?
Yeah.
So there is this, if you're the captain and you're walking the halls of your school treating people poorly, that's not reflecting well on you, right? You can't just be good for your hockey team and an idiot to everyone else and disrespectful to your teachers. So that's important. Now, the flip side of that, which was a lot of the feedback we got from captains, was the feeling the need to be perfect. Right. And so it's not about being perfect. It's just about trying to make good choices over and over and over. But you're going to make bad ones. You're going to make a mistake, and then you just own up to it and say, I screwed that up, and you move on. And then the other thing that came back really consistently from athletes, especially it seems seemingly at the college level, and a lot of these were captains during like COVID, where teams were in bubbles and they couldn't interact with others, and the captains had so much responsibility. You also do need to turn it off, right? You need to shut your phone off for an hour and go play guitar or do art or listen to music or meditate or go to church or whatever it is. But, I might not say 24/7. I might say, 23/7. You got to give yourself time to shut it off as well. Or it becomes overwhelming and then can effectively. Now, 23/7 doesn't mean, I'm shutting it off for an hour and I'm going to go cram 5 beers down as quickly as possible. That's not leadership. But how do I turn it off and just be like, right now I can't? And one of the things and one of the responsibilities that we talked about is learn to delegate, right? So it doesn't always have to fall on you. And if I'm a senior captain of a college team and there's young players showing leadership qualities, start delegating some responsibilities to them and see how they do, see how they lead. That's an incredibly important part of it as well, is how I identify and mentor and delegate responsibility to the next generation of leaders.
Totally. Yeah. It's I would imagine most people who are named captain are high achievers, hard workers, self-critical, really care, things like that. That's a double-edged sword. You wear a lot when you get that responsibility, because you take it seriously. There's no question. And I think that's really good really good feedback. Honestly, like the two things you talked about when you spoke to the athletes was there's this problem with trying to be perfect at everything, and you got to turn it off. So there's got to be a balance to that. I think that's something that not just a lot of leaders in sports need to hear, but probably a lot of high achievers and people who run companies and all of that. Like Vex, you struggle with that. I know I do too. Like it's
all the
time. That's really, really good feedback. John, just the last thing I have for you here is what I love about this too is it's not just like a book, but like there's a how-to to this too. Like there's a curriculum. You mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast that you can go through and actually develop some skills and learn about it and have some self-reflection. You talked about self-awareness at the first thing of the book as one of the qualities that a lot of these leaders have. Can you talk a little bit about the curriculum that you guys have put together and how it can help athletes to develop some of the leadership qualities?
Yeah. And so this is the coach's role or the assistant coach's role or the strength coach's role, someone on the staff. It doesn't have to be the head coach for everything. It's like as a head coach, I need to delegate as well. So let me delegate this responsibility that once a week for 30 minutes, you're just going to sit down with the captains and you're going to give them 2 chapters to read. And the chapters are like 3 or 4 pages, right? This is not overwhelming. There's some reflection questions at the end of every chapter that the participant should do. And then it just, it goes and it's like, okay, this week is chapters 5 and 6. And these are the 2 responsibilities that we talked about, or, these are the qualities we talked about, whatever it is. And so they read them and they're answering those questions. Then you come together and you touch on the high points of that. And the curriculum has little summaries of the stories and the high points in those chapters. And then it has, further questions, right? So, hey, reflecting upon this, what is a moment that you could have led this week and you didn't, right? What's something that you missed? What's someplace that you did lead? What's someplace that there was a moment and you saw and it wouldn't have happened if you weren't there, right? And so you get them to just keep thinking and keep developing. And again, these go back to reps. And so as the coach, you're growing right along with them and you're watching them grow and you're answering their questions and you're building stronger relationships with them. So you're building trust with them and then helping them continue to build trust with their teammates so that they can be the go-between. Both my kids were team captains in high school. And I remember my son, his senior year, had a new coach. He had a coach his first 3 years and then a brand new coach his last year. And it was very different. And the coach was doing a lot of things that were super disruptive to the team. And my son was like, oh, we were all talking and, we should just go to the AD and get him fired. I'm like, no, it's not what you're going to do. Like, he's a human. He's got a job. He's whatever. I'm like, you have to have a conversation with him, right? So you're going to go tomorrow and you're going to stand up for yourselves, right? You are the captain. Your teammates are frustrated. So you have to go talk to the coach because he can solve that problem. And he might be frustrated with you. So you have to be ready to receive something back. But you advocate and you have to have the self-respect to stand up for yourself and your teammates when things aren't going well. And great coaches get that, right? And then at the next level, right, it's like, hey, coach, guys are pretty spent right now. Hey, coach, it's been a grind. Can we add a little more, something fun or something competitive to this because we need sort of a mental break from it, right? That's my job. And the coaches decide, hey, this is the lineup, or this is who's going to play, or this who's on the power play, and you're part of that. Well, then you have to go back and have hard conversations with teammates as well. So when they complain, I can't believe I'm not in the power play. What was coach thinking? You can't be like, yeah, coach is an idiot, right? You're like the assistant coach. You have to toe the company line in that moment as well.
Yeah, totally. Oh man, like that's so important. I feel like, as a coach, you're only as good as your captain. And as a captain, you're only as good as, that underneath group of leaders and everybody has to buy into the same things. And as that captain, you are the go-between, and you write about this in the book. Like, you are that connector of the coaching staff and the rest of the team. And you have to be that person that is willing and able to maybe have some of the harder conversations to help create that buy-in. Because if there's disconnect between the players and the coaches, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how talented you are, you're not gonna win. And so that's a really important thing. And you write about, like, what are some tips? And you just mentioned, a lot of really good stuff, but like, if there is a person that is wearing a C on their chest, like, what are some really good ways, or what's some advice that you have for those captains when they do need to be that go-between both ways? You need to maybe get the players to buy in a little bit more of what the coach is saying, or the coach has got to be a little bit reflective about some of the things that they're doing. How do you best be that go-between between the two?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to depend on age and level and all sorts of stuff. But I think, first of all, that this goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, that you've just always been a truth teller, that you always lead by example, that you always do the right things. And you can have empathy, right? You can have empathy for your buddy who's not on the power play anymore, or he's the goaltender and all of a sudden he's not starting, and being like, hey, look, I know it sucks. It's hard. But how you react to this in this moment is going to have a massive influence on our team, right? And then you can go to the coach and be like, listen, coach, he took that really hard. Can you please just have an individual conversation with him as well? Because right now, he needs a little boost, and hopefully a good coach understands that, right? And so it's just hard. But I think the best advice that I got when I became a college coach, and I was also, coaching club at the time, was always tell the truth. Always give your honest assessment of a player, of their situation, and things like that. Because people are just there. You can't be liked by everyone. Some people are just not going to like you, but they do need to respect you. That, you know what, I don't like John. I don't like what he's saying, but he always tells me what he believes is true. And so that consistent truth teller is a really important quality of leadership. And yeah, that player might not like it in the moment, but you know what? Topher always tells the truth, man. It's not his fault. He didn't make the decision. He's not the coach.
Yeah. I love that. Well, John, this was an awesome conversation. Just tell our listeners about the book, where they can find it, where they can find you on social media and website and all that kind of stuff. If people want more, where can they find the book and everything like that?
Yeah. So changingthegameproject.com is the mothership, or Jerry's website is Way of Champions. But if you go to my website, you will find the podcast, Way of Champions podcast, and all the stuff. The book's on Amazon, and then usually populates there first and then trickles its way to Barnes & Noble and Powell's and everything else. We have a lot, if people are interested in getting 10 or more books, we have a lot of athletic directors or people like, you know what, I'm getting this for all my coaches to teach to their kids, or I'm getting this for all my captains in the school, and this is going to be a mandatory captains training. Just email me, just john@changingthegameproject.com. And, we do 25% off for orders of 10 or more. So we'll save you a few bucks over Amazon at that point. And on Instagram and Facebook and all that, X and LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn. There's reasonable people there. So, so Coach John O'Sullivan on LinkedIn if you want to connect.
It's actually really interesting, John, especially with the group discount there. I've had quite a few people reach out to me in the last month or so about hey, we're trying to do a summer project with our team or our group or whatever. This would be a really, really good thing for that, I feel like. So good stuff. All right, John O'Sullivan, we're going to keep you for another couple minutes here for our 10 questions that'll be housed in our Hockey Think Tank U community. But as always, awesome stuff. So much great information for not just kids that want to be captains and want to be leaders, but also for coaches and leaders who want to develop more leaders as well. So awesome book. Great conversation here today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. I always love our time together and our conversations, and I always try to give one for you to put on the wall of your gym. So hopefully you got one.
There you go.
I'm just going to say, be a thermostat.
Be a thermostat, baby.
It all comes down to this: a best-of-7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sportsbook app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series, all in one place with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code THPN, spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Bet with DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, bet text pass through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in predictions dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks, expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Ends June 28. Terms at dkng.co/audio.